A very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, and tonight we are talking about living with eczema. My guests, I'll very quickly introduce them. I'll start over there. Christine Matama, welcome to the program.
Good evening to you.
All right, and right next to her is Dr. Fred Kambugu, who is a doctor working with the skin clinic. Welcome, Doctor.
Good evening, everybody.
Right. And finally, we have Mabel Christine Musana, who is Christine's mom.
Yes.
You named your daughter after yourself?
Yes.
All right, let's say it as it is. So we're here really because of Christine. Christine, I saw your book and I forgot to carry my copy. And I tried to read through and I was trying to understand your story. Every time we hear about eczema, I don't think any of us thinks about it in the magnitude that I found in your book. So please tell me about your story. The picture that we see of you now is not the picture that I read about in the book. Let's start from 19 years of age when the symptoms came.
Yeah, it was well back in 2004. My skin did not have any blemish, but I just woke up one morning and I had pimples on the left side. And so I took it lightly. I thought these were, symptoms of teenage and possibly hormonal changes. So on the second day, pimples were right on the second side, but these were no ordinary pimples. They were itchy and burning. And on the third day, my scalp was not spared. So that's when I got scared. And I had to rush to a dermatologist. And getting to the dermatologist, the diagnosis was right away eczema.
They knew right from the first visit?
Yes. And before the diagnosis, several tests were run, and all of them were fine. I did not have any other infection. And so the doctor told me, you are having a condition that if you're lucky, it may go. If you're not lucky, you may have to live with it the rest of your life. And that's the news I had to take.
So some of the things that I read in your book to define or to give a picture of what you're actually trying to say. You at a point had skin particles being swept off the floor. You had pus oozing out of your body at all hours. And was it your mother who said from dust to dust? It was your mother?
Yes.
Do you remember saying that?
For me, by that I can't remember that, but that's how it was. The whole body was sores, blood, pus, and even it came to a point where the eyes were also closed with pus and blood, the nose, the mouth, the ears, everywhere. So we couldn't know what to do, but we just trusted in the Lord and the medical people.
She says also in the book that some relatives often came by to have a last look at her before she passed away.
Yes, because she reached the point where she couldn't wake up herself. We could come and turn her around, and the body stays on the mattress, on the bed sheets.
The parts of her
body, the skin, yes. Or everywhere from here up to the toes.
So hair was remaining on the bed and skin?
Everything. Okay. Blood, pus, hair, everything.
I think now is a good time to understand what eczema is. Dr. Kambugu.
Eczema is a common allergic in brackets skin disorder. Estimates right now estimate that probably 10 to 20% of all people will have a touch of eczema at some point in their life. It is a multifactorial disease. Most of it has a genetic basis. So these are people who are genetically predisposed to this condition, and they often have a history of other so-called allergies. Itching of the eyes, allergic conjunctivitis, itching of the nose, itching of the ears, itching of the throat, food allergies, asthma, and a generally sensitive, irritable skin. In most cases, its onset is in childhood, usually between the ages of 2 and 3 months. It runs a self-limited course in about 60% of children, and usually by the age of 4 years to 6 years, most children will have outgrown it. A few will occasionally have a recurrence during the period of adolescence, but past adolescence they tend to outgrow it. Now, the catch is in the adult onset eczema. Adult onset eczema does not behave predictably. It is much more severe and runs, is much more difficult to control and runs a more protracted course. Features that suggest eczema: skin rash, itchy skin rash, or simply itching. People who seem to think that they react to everything. Hot conditions make them itchy, cold conditions make them itchy, contact with clothing makes them itchy, smoke, dust, perfume, some types of soaps, detergents, contact with pets, contact with pollens, the dust that is so much around us, even simple things like stress.
Okay.
I want to mention food last because it is not as simple as that. You can't equate eczema to a food allergy. Food allergies are very frequent in children with eczema, but elimination of these foods does not necessarily mean that the eczema will come to an end. So there are many other factors operating. So a blanket exclusion of important foods in the diet is not the solution.
I noticed at a point she took out dairy products from her diet, but then I don't know if you said it didn't work or...
Well, I was required to have a journal of food so that we are able to tell if I actually have an allergy to food. Okay. And it was with a guidance with a doctor. So, and there were a number of things. It wasn't just food alone. It was change of environment. It was change of clothes. I had to have a wardrobe change, and it was also change of food lastly. And so indeed we discovered one of the foods I was reacting to was fish. So, but that wasn't independent, just like what he's saying now.
It was a combination of things. Dr. Kambugi, you said that people outgrow it, but then you also mentioned that when it's in adult stage, so at 19 years of age, it's difficult because she's an adult. And it seemed from reading the book that the doctors kept trying different things.
I think it's important right from the outset to prognosticate, to inform the patient as to the possible expected course of the illness. With all illnesses, there's no shortage of trying. But unlike infectious diseases like malaria, cough, flu, this is a long-term condition. You do not expect to switch it off just like you'd kill a malaria parasite and that's the end of the illness. So it runs a long course. Yes, food does contribute. Food problem more importantly in children. Fortunately, God has mechanisms that He has instilled in the human body that can give you a clue that you are reacting to a food even before you go to the doctor. You've heard of children who refuse breast milk. The child is hungry, but the mother is desperate. She says the child has refused to suckle. She brings milk, the child pushes the cup away and will be satisfied with tea or juice or whatever. Other people would immediately throw up or get abdominal colic. Sometimes the food just runs through, or they start itching almost immediately. That helps them to realize the relationship between the item they have taken and their problem. The catch there is that there are some late reactors. You react to something, you take something, the body processes it, and the reaction only comes 36 to 48 hours after. Now, thinking back, because it's not immediate, it's very difficult, except with the aid of a food diary or specific tests which are available now to pinpoint exactly who the culprit was.
You mentioned, I don't know if I got you right, you mentioned it can be hereditary.
It is hereditary. There's always a family. Now, let me make this clear. People with eczema, parents with children with eczema don't necessarily have to have eczema themselves. They may have asthma, they may have sinuses, they may have itching of the throat, they may have itching of the eyes, they may have food allergies. I don't take meat, I don't take milk. I only started taking it in adulthood. They may have dislikes for simple things like perfume, soap. No, the background is there in the family.
She has already known what hers is.
So a person with eczema like Christine will not necessarily have a child with eczema.
Okay.
Hers may have itching of the eyes. It's random, really.
Okay. All right, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
We offer professional barber, hairdressing at Lugogo Mall, Garden City, Forest Mall, Oasis Mall and Acacia Mall. Sparkle Salon, professional, affordable and quality services.
Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, and like I mentioned earlier, we're talking tonight about eczema, and Christine was sharing her story. It seems from listening to all of this that everybody actually, yes, does have a touch of eczema, but what makes it more in one person and less in others?
Disease severity varies greatly. If more than one factor is operating in the same person, you are more likely to have a more severe course than other people. It's especially true when the things which are triggering the disease are environmental. Let's say you are reacting to pollen, to dust, to animal dander. Things which are almost impossible to control. You can't build a house with filtered air. So you are in that environment all the time. If in addition to that you are intolerant of heat, you are intolerant of cold, you are intolerant of polyester, wool, you are intolerant of soaps, both bathing and washing, you become stressed. And stress in the index patient leads to worsening of the condition. There are specific hormones or chemicals which are triggered which make the condition worse. As if that was not enough, the relatives also become stressed. They also stress the patient. Most times when I'm seated in my clinic, I know it's eczema when the father accompanies the mother to the clinic with the child. In most cases, it means they have not slept for maybe 2-3 days. You know, our reactions as men, if children become scratchy, the gentleman tells the lady, take your child outside. But that can't continue like that. Child is scratchy, it's handed from one parent to another, and by the time they realize what is happening, it's coming to daylight. Second day is like that, third day is like that, then they say, no, this is too much. So its impact is not only on the patient, its impact is on the people giving care, its impact is on the money dished out of the household income to take care of the child. For that visit, they lose time off work, and if they are earning on a daily basis, that is income lost. There's loss of self-esteem. There's loss of self-esteem. People don't want to be near you. People fear you. You want to shake their hands and they draw their hands back. If it's children, simple things like going swimming can be a nightmare and very distressing to the patient. Because they see this rush on this small baby, they have all undressed to go and swim. They dip into the swimming pool, start swimming, and they see her also jumping in, and they jump out. The thinking is that it's probably infectious.
Is it contagious though?
It is not. It is not. So the social impact, the financial impact, the psychological impact. These are things we don't measure. Somebody suffering alone, distressed, no social relationships, that is impossible. Who will say, Christine, how are you? When you are full of rashes.
Christine, paint the picture for us for what that was like for you at 19 and beyond. I know you were at school.
Yes. It was really, really challenging. And at some point, I felt I was lonely, yet I had lots of people around me. Because some people were saying, this is witchcraft. Others were saying, this is contagious. And others were saying, it is lack of self-care. And so I was puzzled. I didn't know what to do. And then as you try to sit somewhere in a taxi with other people, and they are scared, they think it's contagious, you're just going to infect them from skin contact. And to an extent of some friends actually refusing to share an ironing board, you know. So it was really disheartening.
You mentioned at some point that you were a case study in a class, and the students were trying to figure out, and somebody said it might be HIV or...
Yeah, I remember vividly that moment. It was, I was really sick. I could hardly see, I could hardly hear, but my wits were at their best. So, and it's usually the practice for students to come and do their, you know, practicals and learning. So they requested me to consent. I accepted because I wanted to be part of the treatment program and the treatment process. So when they asked, I right away accepted. And so they were assessed. They were asked what condition they thought I had, and their responses were really interesting. Others thought it was liver cirrhosis, others thought it was seborrheic eczema, others, you know, they had lots of...
You've become a doctor out of this experience. You're mentioning the rest of us don't know. But you also say you've been on medication for 14 years and you're still on medication. So Dr.
The medication is not really on a daily basis. The medication comes in when I get reactions.
When you get reaction.
Yeah.
Is this a lifelong illness then?
You can tell from her story that the worst part of the illness is over.
So, I hope so.
She's unlikely to go back into that state. But her skin will remain sensitive and irritable. And any major insults may switch on, may spike here and there. It's only those spikes that are taken care of. The routine daily medication phase is over.
How did you manage the routine daily medication phase?
The daily routine. Okay, I was supportive, and my husband was also supportive. The whole family, some of the relatives and friends. But we were challenged by lack of funds, of money. Money was over because we could spend at least 3 million every week.
3 million shillings every week?
Every month, yes.
Every month?
Yes.
Through seeing, you know, different specialists. I would go to see an optician, an ENT specialist.
So you had multiple complications?
Yes. Yes, because then after the skin getting inflamed, I got secondary bacterial infection. So it was basically the bacterial infection that was causing lots of other complications, including the ear, but not the inner ear, and then the allergic conjunctivitis in the eyes, and then, you know, routine travels from up country to Kampala to see a specialist, you know. So
at some point they moved you from Kampala to Fort Portal because of the weather? Or
yes.
Was it?
Remember, I was also studying
treatment.
Okay.
And she was
so sometimes during holidays
university.
I would travel back home.
Did it help?
To some extent, but not really.
There's a point where she says there was barely skin on her palm and she had to be fed anything warm. Somebody had to hold the cup.
Yes, time came when she couldn't even hold a cup for herself. Somebody could come, we could give her food with a spoon. She couldn't see it. This thing here was stamped.
Joints.
The joints came here and this one came here. So removing it from here, up to here, blood oozing, pus oozing, here, every joint. So she couldn't walk, she couldn't sit. Every part of her was a skin. Have you ever seen the fish, the
Scales.
scales
Scales of a fish, yes.
Yes, she was all over the scales, and we could remove in the morning, in the evening, every day they were developing, every day.
And that's when you said from dust.
Of course, because we could remove the dust from the bed sheets in the morning, in the evening.
And this dust were particles of her skin?
Yes.
Okay.
And blood and water. Water came from her body. My dear, it was so challenging because every day we would remove the bed sheets twice, full of water, blood, and pus.
Dr. Kambugu, I'm trying to picture it, but it's difficult because of what she looks like now. So I'm sure even the person at home is wondering, really? Flawless skin. How does it get to that extent where the skin is joined and then tearing as the arm is separated?
Most of the itching in eczema occurs, is provoked by sweating. Flexural areas, because they fold, tend to sweat more than other parts of the body. And therefore the itching is mostly concentrated there. Secondary bacterial infection makes it definitely much worse. And sometimes mismanagement on our part or lack of continuity with the medication can make it progress to become worse.
Okay.
When you try one medication after another and 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, you're still sick, it's very human and attractive to start looking for
Options.
the alternative advice. Let us see this doctor, let us see this one, let us see this one. That is natural.
Yes.
So the cause must be explained right from the beginning.
All right. Let's take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center Nile Room, and we're talking about eczema tonight. Dr. Kambugu, is there anything that Christine or her parents could have done earlier before everything went, haywire at age 19? Would there be any signs? Is there something that could have been done?
Can it be prevented?
Yes.
It cannot. Can you change the level of severity? Probably not. I mean, you are familiar, for example, with types of asthma. The people with very severe, it's graded as severe. Daily attacks, morning, afternoon, evening, whole night, at the slightest provocation. Full-time treatment, poor response. So in the same vein, she started off with a severe form and it remained severe. I don't think there's anything the parents could have done to predict that it was going to come, to alter its course or the level of severity.
You mentioned at a certain point, Christian, that those medication you were getting from the UK or Amsterdam?
Germany.
Germany.
Mm.
And it had to be particular for you. Tell me about that.
At that time when the condition was at its severest state, the doctor requested for a test called immunoglobulin G. And when we did the immunoglobulin, it so happened to be low. So I needed to have a supplement of that drug. And the information we got was that it's not anywhere in Africa, so we have to import it. And so we had to inquire through medical stores, and medical stores agreed to buy it for us at a subsidized, not subsidized, but
Cost price.
at a cost price, as in we did not have to pay VAT and all those other costs. So they went ahead and got it, but they told us it is not there ready-made for patients because not many patients need it. So it's after you have reported about the condition that they start manufacturing that drug. So we had to wait an extra 6 months before the drug could actually be
So for
brought
6 months you're waiting for
the immunoglobulin. And we were told there are no preservatives in it, so that's why they have to make it after an order has been made. So during that time, I continued visiting the doctors to manage the symptoms that I had. So when it came, and we were shocked that it was actually half the dose, because I was supposed to have a dose for 12 months. So they told us, because this is a sensitive drug, we don't have to have a full dose right away. We can have half of the dose first, so that in case you react, it's withdrawn. Fortunately, I didn't react, and so we had to order for the other dose, and I had it.
And at a certain point, you ordered for another dose.
Yes.
And by the time it came,
when we ordered for the second dose, unfortunately, that particular pharmaceutical company had stopped manufacturing half the dose. Possibly they discovered people don't react to it, and so it was good, so they were manufacturing a full pack. So I had to consult my doctor again, because how would I have another full dose after having half? So my doctor advised to follow the initial prescription, which was taking 12 months. So we had to look for another pharmaceutical company which would give us half of that dose. Fortunately, I had friends from Amsterdam, and I had to switch, called them upon and talked to them about it. They were receptive, and they brought in the dose, and I had it. The dose also had its own other complications. You needed to first get admitted in order to have that shot of it. But everything went on well. Each time I had an admission, I would have the dose, and then after that I would be discharged. It was just fine.
someone is asking, and I'm hoping I can read this handwriting clearly enough. Can eczema predict asthma in the patient later on in the future of his or her life? I don't know if that makes sense to you, Dr. Kambuku.
Yes.
Okay.
30 to 50% of patients who have eczema later on go on to develop asthma. That is a statement of fact.
Do you have asthma?
I got asthma and I got medication, and I think it healed, though I still get a few small symptoms, but manageable.
But is this even the people with a slight eczema?
Irrespective of severity.
So we're really all going to get asthma at some
No,
point.
that is alarmist. I said 30 to 50%.
Okay. I wanted to ask, so for a parent who is watching and their child has eczema, how do they manage? What do they do?
Coping
advice?
mechanism.
Yes, you could start with giving us advice on what you did. Yes, yours was an extreme case, but
For me, what I did was to make sure that she keeps happy, because doctor told me that doctor told me that if you annoy her, the things will develop more. So I made sure that I kept her happy with each and everything she asked for.
that's a very tall order.
I think it was to do more with fighting stress.
Okay.
There are, like the doctor said, there are some things which we react to, like dust, dander, and pet fur. So you have to keep off some beautiful puppies and kittens, and you have to keep dusting your place. You have to be aware of perfumes. You have to avoid all those things with lots of perfumes in them, like soap, harsh soaps, detergents, such things. And definitely you have to see a medical practitioner. You just can't treat eczema alone.
Yes, I was going to say, I think it starts with the initial visit to the doctor to find out.
To make a proper diagnosis of it.
Yes. Dr. Campbell.
Yes, the initial visit should include the history, making a diagnosis. The most difficult part of the visit is to tell the patients the rules of the game, the do's and don'ts.
Yes.
It is very easy to go to a pharmacy, buy a tube, and you go home. But you'll apply that tube until the cows come home if you don't know the rules to follow. So that is the most important part of the consultation. Establish a working relationship with the parents or the patient. Educate them. People can't take in everything at a go, but repeatedly go through what must be done and what should be avoided. Schedule reasonable appointments. Nobody wants to come to a clinic every week or every third day, but visits at monthly intervals or on a when necessary basis when they have the spike. Be wary of the fact that health services cost money. So you must be cost conscious, and the things you are taking must have their value for money. Cost conscious, effective care. You may not need to load the patient with a lot of things to achieve an effective outcome. And patients need to know that most of these things they are using are the same. Brand names change, but the active ingredients remain the same. We have examples of aqueous creams, some which cost 7,000 for half a kilo, and some which cost up to 120,000 for half a kilo for the same product. And what you are paying for in the expensive product is the brand name. That is all. So patients need that all-round education so that they save some money, so that they know how long the thing is going to last for. And many will tell you what triggered the previous attack. They come to that level.
Okay.
And when they're in control, that is the best time for them.
I was going to add two other things. I was going to say patience, so you're not running from one dermatologist to another, and happiness, like they said. Be happy. And as we close, Mama Christine,
Yes.
what would you tell to a parent who's watching whose child has eczema, or even somebody, an adult who's watching and they have eczema?
Well, I advise them to go and see the doctors whenever they see some symptoms of rashes. they shouldn't take it for granted that they are just rashes, but they must go to see the doctor and see what they are treating, not to go to the pharmacies and buy tubes and what.
Or to start with Google.
No, they should go and consult the doctors, the specialist. Yeah.
All right. Kristen?
Basically, I would encourage parents who are nursing babies or children who have eczema to take care of their babies with some strength, because this is fine. It's a chronic condition, but there is always help. If they seek the right help, then they can get a better life.
All right. And Kristen has also written a book. I don't know why you're not talking about the book you've written.
I've written a book titled Heroic Struggle, Coping with Chronic Illnesses, and I base that on my personal experiences battling with eczema.
Okay. All right. Dr. Kambuku, you close us up. What would you like us to take home from this conversation?
Two things. Is it eczema increasing or it is static? The debate is, the jury has not come back to give its verdict. Many parents are becoming more aware of the condition, so they report earlier for treatment. Teaching of dermatology has improved. Doctors are better able to make a diagnosis, so it may be just an apparent increase, not a real increase. I think the take-home message is patience. Patience. You are told this condition is going to last at least this long. When it lasts for 6 months, don't despair. You know, you have been told already how long it's going to last for. There are many of us who give probably false hopes to patients. You can cure X, Y, Z and all the like. Let us stick to the straight and narrow. But most importantly, patience from everybody in the team.
Do you get many cases that are as extreme as Kristen's case was?
You get the occasional patient with extremely severe disease, and you tend to remember all of them by name and by contact.
Wow.
But
You can realize that this is exceptional.
Well, it's good to see you, Kristen. 14 years later, you look radiant. I could never tell. I didn't believe your story until I saw a page in your book that had you covered in. What was that? That was your skin, or that was? It
Yes,
looked like ash.
no, it was the skin. You know, like it would ooze and then dry up and then scale off
So you do this and
through itching.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so
You're
much, Dr.
welcome.
Kambuku, for coming to the show and educating us. And thank you, Mama Kristen, for resilience and strength and.
thank you. It
All
was by God's grace.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition.
Renew your monthly basic bouquet subscription of 18,000 shillings before it expires. Then enjoy 3 free days only on
Star Times. Enjoy digital life.